So here is my take on Cyberpunk 2077, the honest truth about one of the most anticipated games of the 21st century to date. A game that was delayed so many times that a whole console generation passed before this game was finished and released. Is it finished yet? I don't know. G'day everyone, I am Lucas from the Aussie Gamers Experience, and today I am taking a look at a game that has been punched around the ring more than Mike Tyson and Elton John. So there's hundreds, thousands, and probably even millions of publications out there now covering off of how much of a mess the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 was, so I won't go on about it for too long, but I just can't let these video clips go to waste that I captured in the first 35 hours of my playthrough of Cyberpunk 2077. So let's take a look at those now.
Get a job.
I would call this a beautiful view of the city.
If?
If there was anything to admire.
This is bar used to get your house. Tiger Claw killed one girl too many. People took matters into their own hands. It belongs to us.
You'll see an industry hole go down by people willing to pass. We are done. Exit is over there. Alright, I'll check it again.
Right, now let's move on and get to the bottom of this game. Ignoring the issues that the game has had, I can wholeheartedly say that Cyberpunk 2077 was a good game that I enjoyed playing. Now that does initially sound like a compliment, but I mean it in a way that is the complete opposite. Here before us is a game that was announced in 2012 before the release of the PS4 and the Xbox One. Cyberpunk 2077 has been a work in progress for at least the last 8 years that I know of, and after such time in the oven with a dev team like CD Projekt Red at the helm, having the result being a mere good game that I enjoyed playing is kinda disappointing. I honestly didn't really know what to expect before I got my hands on Cyberpunk 2077. The hype and build up to the release was overwhelming and seemed way too good to be true. There were promises made that the visuals would be beyond what we're used to, and the choices in role-playing would be far more expansive than anything we had played before. We were shown 3 different classes of characters, with the Street Kid, Nomad, and Corpo all having different origins and gameplay. I'll get to more on this later. So there was so much promised that it really is no surprise that we never saw it come to fruition. So the story here, slight spoilers, but I'll try to keep them minor. The story in a nutshell is that the main character that you play as is named V. You're infected and will die without any sort of special intervention. Now V isn't infected in the usual way that humans get infected. It had absolutely nothing to do with a booze-filled night riding bareback with all the inhibitions of a 90s era Catholic priest. No, V is infected like a computer gets infected with a digital virus. You see, the game will have you believe that in the year 2077, humans are all modded or augmented with robotic parts that enhance their abilities and elongate their lives. You can even choose your penis size. Well, with good comes the bad, and people will have become susceptible to malware that not even Norton's antivirus would be able to stomp out with a yearly subscription. So let's get back to how the story goes along. You do a big job with a close friend named Jackie that you meet at the start of the game. You then learn how close you are with Jackie through a montage of happy-go-lucky tomfoolery and illegal activities. Mama Wells would not approve. Anyway, you do a big heist with Jackie and it all goes to shit. You end up having to insert a throbbing but volatile microchip into your neck. It's a microchip, unlike this scene would suggest that it's actually a handgun. It is actually a microchip. But anyway, you stuff it into your neck to avoid it being destroyed and voila, you are now infected. So now you spend the rest of the game being guided by one Johnny Silverhand, played by the greatest guy of all time, Keanu Reeves. Silverhand gives you advice on how to find the right people to ask for help to save your forsaken life. That is, of course, when he's not calling you a selfish asshole. You aren't anyone special that deserves to be saved though. You're just you, and that's why you matter. To you, and you alone. To quote the doctor's report, when I personally had some scans of certain body parts, the story of Cyberpunk 2077 is unremarkable. It's not horrible by any shot, but it's nothing jaw-dropping and far from a masterpiece. If you're playing on PC, then you may agree that the graphics, lighting and reflections are somewhat impressive, but as for the gameplay and the story, it's a little too regular for me. If you're playing on console, well, I'm sorry. There's a lot to do in Night City. You won't be found without a side mission to do at any point of the game for that matter. I was hoping that CD Projekt Red might actually add in a do not disturb mode for your head-mounted sort of phone that keeps ringing constantly, because you get like a phone call minute by minute by some whining asshole wanting your help again and again and again. This is way too closely related to that old, hey Nico, it's your cousin Roman. Want to go bowling? There's too much of it. Seriously, it's incessant. The characters are pretty good, and the writing is also interesting at times. Romance is also a thing too, and you can try your darndest to bed quite a few of the main characters, but don't be too upset when you realise that some characters just aren't that into you. I chose to play as a female V, but that backfired on me when I tried to woo a character named Panam. She's a nomadic female character with curves in all the right places, but apparently she's not gay. And I found out that, not from a lack of trying, she can't be swayed to bat for the other team. Okay, now I have something to say about the three classes that you can choose from. Initially, I was led to believe that the first choice of either Corpo, Street Kid or Nomad would have a meaningful impact on my story progression and how I played. Essentially, this is true for the first hour or so. That'll be unique depending on your choice. Also, how you meet your sidekick Jackie will be a little bit different, and you'll be offered different lines of dialogue through the game that are unique to your class, but essentially this is where it ends. I figured maybe the starting vehicles would be different for the classes, but it's not. There are some people that I spoke to before the game was released who said, I'm going to go with Street Kid because I like his starting car, because that was sort of in the picture that they showed for all of the classes, but that's not the case. After the initial stages of the game, no matter what class you choose, you will eventually find yourself funneled down the exact same narrow pathway that the main story follows. This isn't anything super bad or disappointing, but just like pretty much every other game that promises game-altering choices, it only matters at the time of the choice and shortly after. Beyond that, you may as well have just chosen to play as a ferret named Chester that rides on a unicycle while juggling floppy rubber fists. Cyberpunk 2077 brings a beautifully crafted world with unique characters and a story that, while I don't think will blow anyone away, is decent enough to get you invested for at least around 30 hours or so, while throwing in a few of the game's intriguing and Easter egg filled side missions. Here we have a decent game that would be a solid 7 or 8 out of 10 for most people that are reasonable about expectations, that has sadly been smashed out the other side of its head by a disastrous launch that even resulted in Sony removing the game from their digital stores and refunds being thrown out left, right and centre. With some big updates coming in the future, I expect that Cyberpunk 2077 will eventually be turned into the great game that it was once foretold to be. But in its current state, even though I disagree with the hate that it's received, it kind of got what it was asking for by releasing itself in the state that it did. So essentially, I enjoyed the game, but it was no home run. We learned that even CD Projekt Red are human, and their PR department are made up of snakes. Should you play it now or wait? Well, my advice would be to sit on it if you're not biting at the bit to play it. I suppose this does depend on when you're watching this video. Wait for a few more of the game fixes to be released, and then maybe think about dipping your toe into it. Once you do, hopefully you'll be treated to a good game that won't have you asking for your money back straight away. Anyway, that's all I have for this review, and if you have any questions, comments or concerns, go ahead and type them up in the comment section down below. And if I can, I will get back to you. While you're down there though, don't forget to click the thumbs up button or the thumbs down button. Either way, it's activity on my video, so I don't mind. The sub button is also down there, it's not hidden, so check that one out. Click it if you want to see more from myself and the Age XP. For now, that is all from me, and until next time, I am Lucas, and I will see ya!